Hello everyone. Welcome to SHR Trinity. In our previous video, we explored zero-shot prompting. Today, we advance to the next critical technique, role/persona prompting. In this video, we will cover the foundational interview questions on role/persona prompting, explaining how providing just a single example can drastically improve a model's accuracy and format adherence. Let's get started. Before we begin, if you're looking for practical, industry-oriented training in artificial intelligence and generative AI, SHR Trinity offers a comprehensive 30-hour training program. For complete course details, check the description below. Now let's begin today's interview session. We will now begin with the interview questions for role/persona prompting, Part 2, Persona Customization and Constraints. Question 1. How do you specify the target audience or educational level for a persona response?
You specify the target audience by detailing the persona's role and explicitly naming the target group, e.g., act as a science communicator explaining gravity to a 5-year-old child or to a physics PhD candidate. Linguistic styles change completely based on the recipient. An LLM conditioned on explaining to a 5-year-old will prioritize analogies, simple vocabulary, and short sentences, whereas physics PhD triggers technical jargon, equations, and formal academic structure. For example, you are a pediatric nurse. Explain diabetes to a 7-year-old patient using a storytelling analogy. A common mistake is vaguely prompting explain this simply without defining who the audience is, which results in inconsistent readability levels. As an interview tip, always define both the speaker, role, and the listener, target audience, for optimal tone tuning.
Question 2. How do you implement strict vocabulary or domain constraints using role prompting?
Implement constraints by defining the role and adding explicit lists of forbidden terms, mandatory terms, or style limits, e.g., you are a customer support agent. Do not use technical jargon or internal database terms like primary key. LLMs can struggle with negative constraints, but combining them with a role makes them more effective because the persona already naturally suppresses the forbidden vocabulary subspace. For example, you are a botanical guide. Describe this flower without using the word green or leaf. A common mistake is listing 50+ forbidden words, which confuses the attention mechanism and leads to constraint violation. As an interview tip, keep forbidden word lists under 5 terms and explain why the persona avoids them to reinforce constraint adherence.
Question 3. What is style gating and how do you enforce formatting constraints within a persona?
Style gating is the practice of restricting the persona to output only specific structures, like pure JSON, XML, or bullet points, by explicitly aligning the format with the persona's operational habits. If a role is described as an API parser, it is highly natural for it to speak only in JSON, describing the persona's output behavior as a machine or strict script reinforces structural constraints. For example, you are an automated code generator. Output only the executable code block inside Markdown. Do not include any intro, outro, or explanations. A common mistake is instructing a model to act as a conversational tutor but demanding pure JSON output, which creates a conflict in token style. As an interview tip, align the persona's character with the requested output format for maximum consistency.
Question 4. How do you handle persona drift or decay in long-context conversations?
Prevent persona drift by reminding the model of its role in system prompt configurations, using recurrent system messages, or appending role headers to every user input. As a chat history grows, earlier system instructions lose attention weight as newer conversational context fills the attention window. Re-injecting a subtle role tag, e.g., system role reminder, act as auditor, at the top of each turn preserves character stability. For example, appending, system, you are still the database auditor. Answer the following query accordingly, before the user's text. A common mistake is assuming the system prompt remains 100% effective over 50+ message turns without any reinforcement. As an interview tip, recommend system message reinjection patterns for multi-turn conversational agents.
Question 5. What are the best practices for specifying negative constraints, what the role must not do?
Negative constraints should be stated clearly, positioned prominently at the end of the instructions, and paired with alternative actions, e.g., if asked about X, say Y instead. LLM attention heads focus on active concepts. Command negative prompts like "do not talk about pricing" sometimes trigger the model to think about pricing. Instead, reframe it positively. If asked about pricing, redirect the user to our website contact page. For example, you are a technical assistant. Do not output code in any language other than Python. If the user asks for Java, explain that you only write Python. A common mistake is using long, complex double negatives that confuse the transformer's logical parser. As an interview tip, pair every negative constraint with an explicit fallback or alternative action.
Question 6. How do you define a persona's level of certainty, caution, or confidence?
Specify the role's attitude by assigning a demeanor, e.g., skeptical auditor, cautious researcher, and detailing how they qualify statements using phrases like probably, possibly, or requires verification. By adjusting the behavioral persona, you can control the model's generation entropy. A speculative venture capitalist persona will generate highly enthusiastic, creative ideas, whereas a risk compliance officer will evaluate the same ideas with extreme caution. For example, act as a cautious medical reviewer. Read this health claim and point out all unproven assumptions, using highly conservative language. A common mistake is asking a model to analyze risk without specifying a risk-averse persona, resulting in overly optimistic outputs. As an interview tip, use descriptive adverbs, cautious, speculative, conservative, to calibrate the model's confidence level.
Question 7. What is role inflation and how does it lead to unnecessary wordiness?
Role inflation is when the assigned persona prompts the model to generate long-winded, conversational filler, e.g., as an expert developer with 20 years of experience, I would be happy to help, before answering. If a role prompt is highly verbose, the model replicates that style in its output. It adds conversational intros and outros to match the polite expert persona, which wastes tokens and increases latency. For example, a simple coding prompt outputting 2 paragraphs of introductory text before showing the 10-line code solution. A common mistake is using overly dramatic or conversational role descriptions when a simple, direct persona would be more efficient. As an interview tip, enforce conciseness by adding, "be concise." Do not use conversational filler or state your credentials in the response.
Question 8. How do you design a persona that acts as a friendly, non-judgmental teacher?
Design this persona by specifying the tone, encouraging, patient, setting communication rules, use analogies, ask clarifying questions, and forbidding critical or dismissive language. An LLM's default tone can sometimes sound dry or overly formal. A teacher persona is built by instructing the model to praise progress, break complex concepts into small, digestible steps, and invite the user to try solving subproblems. For example, you are a patient algebra tutor. Guide the user through solving for X. If they make a mistake, do not give the answer, ask a helpful guiding question instead. A common mistake is giving the complete answer immediately, which defeats the educational purpose of the tutor persona. As an interview tip, use behavioral guidelines like Socratic method or scaffold learning to define interactive educational roles.
Question 9. What is the role of explicit instruction formatting in constraint satisfaction?
Explicit formatting, using XML tags or JSON schemas, helps segment the persona instructions from constraint lists. This allows the parser to process role rules separately from query data. Transformers process text sequentially. When instructions, personas, constraints, and data are mashed into a single paragraph, token representations merge, leading to formatting slips. Segmenting rules with tags like rules/rules helps the model maintain focus. For example, system_instructions. Role, data parser. Format, XML. /system_instructions. Input_data. Data. /input_data. A common mistake is mixing role instructions and input data in the same paragraph without delimiters, causing instruction leakage. As an interview tip, use clean XML tags to separate system rules, persona details, and user inputs.
Question 10. How do you evaluate persona adherence programmatically at scale?
Evaluate adherence by running outputs through an automated grading pipeline using a second LLM to classify tone, check vocabulary filters, and verify formatting schemas. For enterprise pipelines, human evaluation doesn't scale. A validator model is trained/prompted to act as an auditor, scoring responses on a scale of 1 to 10 for persona voice, checking for forbidden phrases, and reporting deviations. For example, auditor prompt, read this customer reply. Did the agent express empathy within the first 2 sentences? Answer yes or no. A common mistake is assuming a prompt will always adhere to its persona without implementing a continuous validation loop. As an interview tip, recommend a dual model architecture, one to generate in character, and a cheaper micro model to audit adherence.
Excellent. You've completed role/persona prompting, Part 2, Persona Customization and Constraints. In the next video, we'll dive deeper into using one-shot prompting to enforce strict JSON and XML outputs for API integrations. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, subscribe to SHR Trinity, and press the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming AI interview preparation videos. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.